On January 8th, 2026, something happened that a lot of people thought was pretty much impossible. It wasn't a battle with bombs or soldiers, but an electronic one, and it marked a massive shift in how we think about the internet and global communication. This is the story of the day Starlink, the supposedly unbreakable internet, went dark.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in Tehran, Iran. Protests are sweeping the country, and the government does what it's done before. It hits the kill switch on the nation's internet, trying to shut down dissent by cutting everyone off.
And wow, the effect was immediate. The data from Cloudflare showed that 98.5% of Iran's internet traffic just vanished instantly. The entire country was thrown into a digital black hole, cutting 80 million people off from the rest of the world.
But wait, this time was supposed to be different, right? There was a lifeline, Starlink. Tens of thousands of smuggled terminals were active across the country, a kind of parallel internet that was built to get around state control. It had worked for protesters before. So what happened to the unbreakable internet? Well, this is what happened. Starlink didn't just have a bad day. It was taken apart systematically. And the speed of this takedown, as you can see here, was just breathtaking. Packet loss, which is basically a measure of how much of your data just disappears into thin air, it shot up from an initial 30% to over 80% in just a few hours. This was a first. A nation-state had successfully taken down Starlink on a massive scale.
So the big question is, how on earth did they pull this off? This wasn't just some simple jamming. No, this was a really sophisticated, multi-layered attack that experts are now calling the electronic shield.
Now, here's the really clever, or maybe scary part. Iran didn't attack the satellites way up in orbit. That would be incredibly difficult. Instead, they built this massive blockade from the ground up, targeting the user terminals themselves. It was like a siege, but fought with invisible weapons. The attack came in three ways. First, they blinded the terminals. You see, a Starlink dish needs GPS to know where to look in the sky. So, by flooding the area with fake GPS signals, they made the dishes totally lost, unable to find the satellites. Second, they rolled out mobile jamming trucks to just blast Starlink's specific radio frequencies with noise, creating these localized dead zones. And finally, the knockout punch. They deployed advanced, military-grade electronic warfare systems. And that third step, the really advanced stuff, that's the key, because it tells us that this wasn't just Iran's victory. This was a team effort. So let's take a look at who was really behind this. You have to understand, the blackout in Tehran wasn't just about controlling their own population. It was basically a live-fire exercise. It was a golden opportunity for Russia and probably China to test their latest electronic warfare toys against America's top satellite network, with Iran as the proving ground. And when you look at the actual hardware they were likely using, it's pretty clear where this advanced capability came from. Analysts are pointing to several Russian systems being on the ground. The Krasuka 4, which is a really powerful mobile jammer, the Tobol system, which was actually designed to protect Russian satellites but can be flipped for offense, and most importantly, an experimental system called Kalinka, basically a purpose-built Starlink killer that was developed after Russia saw how effective Starlink was in Ukraine. There's a quote from some security analysts that I think just nails it. They said the use of these systems in Iran shows a globalization of technological confrontation in space. In other words, the fight for information control isn't just happening on land anymore. It has officially moved into orbit. But here's the thing. Learning how to block Starlink, that was only one part of the strategy. At the very same time, Russia was flooring the accelerator on its own plans to build a direct competitor. And this is where we meet Rose-aly, which actually means dawn in Russian. This is Moscow's big answer to Starlink, a full-on, state-backed mission to create its own sovereign satellite internet, completely free from any Western control. And if you look at the two side by side, the whole philosophy behind them couldn't be more different. Starlink, yeah, it has military uses, but it's a private American company that sells itself on the idea of open global internet. Rose-aly is the exact opposite. It's a state-controlled tool designed first and foremost for the military, and second, to provide a sanction-proof, state-filtered internet to its people and allies. And believe me, their ambitions for this thing are massive. We're talking a constellation of over 900 satellites by 2035. The goals? Secure communications for the military, internet for tough-to-reach places like the Arctic, and all connected with those fancy inter-satellite laser links. Now, this next part is absolutely crucial to understanding the bigger picture. Russia's plan for space isn't just about internet. At the same time they're building the Rosvet communications network, they're also launching Zorky satellites. These are not for your email. These are eyes in the sky, designed to take super high-resolution pictures to guide Russia's next generation of smart weapons. So, when you put all of these pieces together, you've got the sophisticated jamming in Iran, you've got these new Russian networks, and you've got similar projects coming out of China, a new reality starts to take shape. We're watching the internet fracture into pieces, but this time it's happening hundreds of miles above our heads. At the very heart of all this is an idea called cyber sovereignty. For years, countries like Russia, China, and Iran have been pushing this idea that they have the right to control what happens on the internet inside their own borders. Well, now they're just extending that border straight up into space. And you have to know, this isn't just a tech battle with invisible rays and satellites. It's also a regulatory war, and it's been playing out for years in stuffy conference rooms. Russia and Iran are lobbying hard at international groups like the ITU, trying to create global rules that would force services like Starlink to get a government's permission to operate. It's basically an attempt to legalize a government kill switch for satellite internet, and it's all building towards key decisions at future conferences. And really, this is what the future might look like, a split reality up in orbit. You'll have one sphere of an open internet dominated by systems like Starlink. Then you'll have a state-controlled sphere run by networks like Russia's Rosvet. And in the middle, you'll have all these other countries caught and having to choose a side. You know, there's a quote that really sums up the immediate shock of this whole event. It says that the stranglehold that satellite internet promised to have over censorship has been broken, at least partially, at least temporarily. The big promise that this tech would guarantee a free flow of information everywhere, well, that promise has been shattered. Which leaves us with this one huge, kind of sobering question. For decades, we thought the internet was about tearing down walls and connecting everybody. But as this new space race gets faster and faster, with different ideologies building their own internets in the sky, are we just building those same walls all over again, just a few hundred kilometers higher? Is the sky itself becoming the new Iron Curtain?